Most therapist-led nonprofits don't fail because the mission isn't good. They fail because they're built on one income stream. My name is Dr. Lawson. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in California and Pennsylvania, and I started my nonprofit Hope Counseling Center 13 years ago, and I've been running it ever since. And we operate in both states of California and Pennsylvania. So, let's talk about why most nonprofits stay broke. Most therapist-led nonprofits don't fail because the mission isn't good. They fail because they're built on one income stream. And what I mean by that is they're either built on grants only, which is unpredictable, slow, and competitive. They're built on donations only, which is emotionally exhausting and inconsistent, or they're built only on program revenue, which leaves you to be capped at capacity and underpriced, especially if you're doing insurance billing. We all know that we're underpaid with insurance. So doing one revenue stream alone is not a revenue plan. It's really a hope and pray kind of strategy. And what you really need is a revenue engine, something diversified, intentional, and planned before your year starts. So I'm going to go over this framework of the three-part revenue engine. Every financially healthy nonprofit that I help build uses three categories of revenue, not just one and not two. And to be honest, there's more than three, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those other ones at the end of this training. But each piece of the revenue engine has a role, and each piece stabilizes for the other roles. So we're going to break down today the three roles. The first one is program revenue. This is like the foundational revenue for your nonprofit. Program revenue is things like therapy services, groups, workshops, trainings, school contracts, community programs, even program funded programs, which are an option in a nonprofit. And program revenue is earned income. It should at least cover the cost, at least cover the delivery costs, and also should cover staff salaries. So if you run a group that brings in $2,000 a month and costs $800 to staff, that's an extra $1,200 that is actually not extra. It's part of your sustainability. So a mistake that often happens is that therapists often dramatically underpriced programs because they're thinking like clinicians and not like leaders, not like CEOs. We're not taught that in school. So an action step for anybody watching is to ask yourself which programs actually generate a margin and which program drains it. So let's go into part two. This is called contributed revenue. Contributed revenue is going to be like your grants, your fundraising, your donations. It's not begging. It's actually inviting people to fund outcomes that they care about. So that's going to be your individual donors. That's going to be events. That's going to be small grants. Could be major gifts. There's a lot that could go into this category. And grants should only accelerate a nonprofit, not keep it alive. So if your nonprofit is functioning only with one revenue stream of grants, it's not going to be sustainable because grants are unpredictable and you could get a 3-year grant and then never get that grant again. So instead of saying, we'll apply to grants, the real plan should sound like we aim to raise $60,000 this year, $5,000 a month through these specific channels. So what I want you to think about is if a donor asks you today, what does this $10,000 do? Could you answer that clearly? You need to be able to answer that clearly because that's what donors want to hear. So the third part of the revenue engine is the infrastructure and leadership pay. This is where you separate yourself from everyone else. And here's the part that most therapists were never taught, that founders pay is not selfish. It is absolutely infrastructure and needs to be built in there. So what I mean by this is executive director salary, admin support, systems, accounting, strategy time. This is all stuff that leaders do. And if the nonprofit only works if you're exhausted, then it's not sustainable. It's just another agency job that you basically created for yourself. And I don't think any of us want to do that. So a 6-figure nonprofit doesn't mean profit. It means the organization can reasonably support program staff and leadership. So let's put it all together. Here's what planning a six-figure year actually looks like. About 50 to 60% of your revenue should be program revenue. About 25 to 30% should be contributed revenue. And then 10 to 20% is focused on infrastructure and leadership support. And of course, the numbers vary, but the structure is the same. So when one stream dips, the other one can hold you up steady. And there's a couple of myths that I want to go over. One is you can't pay yourself in a nonprofit. 100% false. You absolutely can. This year, I just looked at my W-2 and I think I made working 20 to 25 hours, including admin time, and I made 122K this year. Boards won't allow it. That is not true. Only the bad ones won't allow it. And I need to choose between impact and income. This is definitely outdated thinking. Believe it or not, nonprofits are a trillion dollar revenue generating entity in the US. So there is money there to go and pay leaders to run these nonprofits. So if this training gave you some clarity, but you're still unsure how your numbers should look, that's totally normal. Planning a nonprofit year is not about guessing, it is about strategy. And if you want help mapping out your own six-figure nonprofit plan, then I have two options depending on where you are. I have a free guide. It's called Sustainable Funding Resources for Micro Nonprofit Therapy Practices. Well, if you want this free guide, then drop guide in the comments. Again, it's called Sustainable Funding Resources for Micro Nonprofit Therapy Practices. And it goes into a model that I developed called the 40-30-20-10 diversification model for specific revenue streams. And I break down what percentages each of those should be. I have some visuals for you to kind of follow with that and give you some real examples based on typical therapy practices. So if you want that, then just drop guide in the comments and I'll make sure I DM it to you. But if you need more specific help and you're ready to start your nonprofit, or you already have a nonprofit and you need help with me looking at the numbers, then you can join one of my programs. I have a full coaching program that's 12 weeks and lifetime access to a course. We go over financials and all of that. We go over generating revenue in that. The other option that I have is a done for you package where you're like, okay, I don't really have the time to learn all this and I want someone to do it for me. Even if you already have a nonprofit established, but you need help looking at the financials, looking at the numbers, looking at the different programs under your nonprofit and generating revenue, then that's something that I can build out for you. And all you have to do is execute it. So if you're interested in either one of those, then drop done for you or full coaching in the comments, and I'll get you a link to schedule a free consult with me to go over those. I have a lot of experience overseeing financials of multiple programs, multiple revenue streams, and making sure that they all stay afloat to continue providing the services.